Good morning. Welcome to the next episode of The Unbreakable Journey. My name's Alex Johnson and I am your podcast person for today. It's a lot darker than the last couple of ones I've done, and I've got a nice light shining in my face, but that means I can't quite see where I'm going, so I might not be able to walk as much. I think if I hold it out like this, I'll be alright. But yeah, it's been a few days, which wasn't initially part of the plan. My plan was to do these daily, and I think it's been 3 days since my last one. So some stuff at home has made it a bit more difficult, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it today. But one of the just nearly tripped over. Yeah. So the first one was we are trying to implement a slightly different routine with the baby, which my normal time for sort of leaving the house to do these was about 7, get home by about 8:30. Now we're trying to pull everything forward almost by an hour, so that means getting up about 6 to come out for these walks, home by about 7:30. So it's just changed a little bit in terms of the timing, which I can survive on less sleep. I stay up quite late. I tend to stay up after they've both gone to bed. So to be fair, it hit me for the first day. I don't think I went to sleep until about 2:30, and then my alarm was on for 6. So that was my fault. That's something else I need to work on. But let's just talk general motivation. So when I have it, I've got it in spades. But sorry about that. That's a completely different topic. Sometimes when it's early morning, I have this really weird gag reflex thing. But anyway, that's a completely different topic. This isn't making very good podcast content, Alex, but part of this podcast is about documenting the journey for me more than anything else. So it doesn't matter what content goes out, I just need to start being consistent about putting it out. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this. So it doesn't matter if I do weird stuff on the podcast. Chances are no one's ever going to hear it anyway. So yeah, so when I'm motivated, motivation's through the roof. But sometimes, quite literally, the planets have to align in order for me to feel that motivation, that drive. So a couple of days ago about a week ago when I first started doing these, motivation for them was there. It was like the constant that I was doing. That was me. In the morning it was 100% working on a little project that I want to work on for me, get up a bit earlier than everyone else, get out, get it done, amazing. And it felt great, by the time I got home I'd released a YouTube video and a podcast. So it was really good feeling, really good feeling. And then you miss one day and then you're like, oh. And then the second day it's like, I've already missed one day. And then the third day you're like, nah. So yeah, but I'm back out. The other challenge I'm facing obviously now is because it's darker, I've got this light, at the moment I'm not 100% sure what it's going to turn out like, but we'll see. So that's potential issue number one, is the quality of the videos I'm making doing this now going to be naff for YouTube. But again, at the moment, not that bothered about it. It's more for me than for people actually watching at the moment. So anyway, let's get on to the meat and potatoes of this one here. Motivation. Okay. It's been up and down. I've had a few things going on relating to, you know, the current situation that I'm in, and I've got some stuff happening today that is potentially going to help with that. Got a few leads, stuff like that. So that side of things is going okay, not too bad. And we managed to work some magic with our remortgage as well, which financially has massively helped us out for Christmas. Like, Christmas is sorted now, which was a bit of a concern with everything that's going on, but basically we've managed to switch mortgage providers at the right time. So actually in December we're not paying a mortgage. We're basically having a month off paying our mortgage. Not something we chose to do, it's just when we switched our remortgage, it closed yesterday, and the first repayment's not due, is due within the first 6 weeks. And we asked at the beginning of all of this for them to come out on the 1st. So the new mortgage provider's gone, you've requested the 1st, we'll do you the 1st. So January the 1st is your next payment, because even though we closed yesterday, it takes longer than that to sort it all out for them. So fantastic. We're like $1,000 up for December. Hello Christmas. Which is fantastic. That's just made another worry go off the table. And then the other, like, motivational side stuff, like I'm getting bursts. I haven't had that full-on switch yet where I become completely unstoppable. I'm focused beyond belief. There's no compromises. This is what I'm doing, bomb, bomb, bomb. And it's hard to get into that mode because it's not all about myself now. You know, if we didn't have a kid, maybe things would be a bit different, and I could say, you know what, no, I'm doing this tonight, but you can't say no, nor would I want to. Let's make that one clear as well. I'm not saying I want to sacrifice time with my baby, definitely not. I'm absolutely loving the time I've had with her over the last sort of 2-3 weeks. It's been amazing. And so what I'm finding is I'll have little pockets of motivation where an idea will pop into my head and I'm like, oh, I need to spend 10 minutes on that. And I'll grab a notebook and I'll start writing away. So a couple of things that have hit me over the last few days. Number one, I've been looking at, obviously, if I was to do a streaming show as sorts, what would the segments be? Well, I've kind of got ideas now for about 6 or 7 different segments, which means that's more than what I need. So it offers a bit more variety, especially if I was able to do 2 streams a week. I could have some consistent elements in both and then make one slightly different to the other. So that seems like quite a good idea. So that was a little pocket of inspiration that came to me. A few other bits as well. But then as well, I've looked at upgrading my little setup for this. At the moment, obviously, it's just my camera, which is shining a light in my face right now, but I think the light is too focused, too bright. But I'm looking at just sort of like a little handheld setup. Obviously my phone is handheld, I realise that, but it's a better handheld that comes with like a a portable proper streaming light, so like the colours are a bit more warmer and not so harsh, and a microphone as well, so hopefully the sound quality can go up a little bit. But I don't think the sound quality is that bad, to be honest. I've never been great at hearing sound quality. I mean, obviously I know what's good and what's really not good, but who knows, a little microphone could improve the little setup a bit, and it might just encourage me to have that sort of setup on me a bit more. So if I am out and about and I find an opportunity where I've got 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that I could just randomly bust out another episode of the podcast, that excites me a little bit. You know, like on a lunch break from work, got a little camera set up, do a podcast. So there's that. And the other bit of trying to get creative juices flowing is writing. I've written an idea for a book. I just really don't know if that is worth pursuing, is worth even entertaining at this stage. You know, it's a children's book. The idea, I'm not going to say it's quite solid. I've got no experience in that industry, but it has potential for like to be a multi-series kids book, which I think would be quite good. So that's an idea. Very worst case scenario for that one is I potentially just might write them for the baby, so that some of the stories I read Daddy wrote. Who knows, that could be quite nice. And if she likes them, at the very least I could just print out a couple and be like, a Christmas present, there you go, have my book series. Who knows. But the ultimate one on all of this is time. It takes time, and here's the motivational side of it that I guess is the bit that will be more meaningful. So I've just waffled on about myself for a while now, so let's focus. Let's try and get something positive out of this podcast and video, and give us something to work with, right? So in my head, with all of these ideas, the biggest barrier I can come up with is time. Don't have enough time, obviously, and consistent time is the other one as well. So if any of you are parents, you know, when you're trying to put them on a routine, or they're going through something like a sleep regression or teething or whatever, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this at this time with all the intentions of the world, but they may say no, and it's a bit of a dick move if you say to your other half, nah, this is my time, you deal with it. I say it's a dick move if you have an understanding, you know, and there's a time slot where mummy is in charge, daddy goes, and there's another time where daddy's in charge, mummy goes, and it's a fair relationship, then fine. You know, it potentially isn't going to cause any issues. But time in general, right? So when you look at the different things I'm looking at doing, so setting up a stream, so actually doing a stream 2 hours a week. I want to do 2, that's 4 hours a week. Minimum probably is going to need an hour of video editing per stream, so that's 6 hours a week. And I want to, you know, I'm looking at writing this book. Don't know how much time you're going to need for that. I mean, you could spend 10 hours, you could spend half hour, it depends how quickly you want to do it. But let's say an hour, so 7 hours. So I would say minimum, maybe an extra hour for doing additional videos. So we're at 8 hours, and then you think these little walks that I'm doing, filming wise, it's about 20-25 minutes, but the walk and everything itself, I'm out of the house for an hour and a half, and that's every day. But if you just talk about the filming time frame, okay, so across the week, let's say you just do 5 days a week, that's an extra 2.5 hours, so that's 10.5 hours. So it's roughly 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. If you're not working and you can afford it, that's a doddle. But that's on top of 40 hours. So in total, instead of 8 hours a day, I'm now looking at 10 hours a day. And it just depends if, you know, that's feasible or not. And in my mind, I initially go, yeah, I could do an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days on my streaming, where I'll pick a time slot 8 till 10 at night, something like that, and I'll do that twice a week. Boom, there's my 10 hours. It's doable. It's doable. I think the ultimate one is this one. Might have to change it to be a non-walking one, where I just go into my little studio and do it there instead. That could be what I do. But then here's the kicker. So this is where all the time stuff comes in. Like, part of the reason why I come here to do my film is that it's about 20 minutes away from the house. So when you include the filming, it's about an hour to an hour and 20, depending on how long it takes me to decide what I want to talk about. But that's exercise, that's walking. So I can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I could go into my studio and I could have an hour and a half just filming content, do a podcast on a better setup than just a mobile phone, let's be honest. Upload it, I could probably do all the editing and still be back in bed for 7. So there's that. But I've done no exercise, so at some point as well I need to work on the fitness, work on the beach body, and realistically that's an hour and a half minimum, 3 days a week, so that's 4.5 hours. So I'm almost asking for an extra hour every day, 5 days a week, in essence, when you break it down. So I'm asking for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, for me. If you're not working, 3 hours a day seems fine, because you could easily, I could have 3 hours a day, she could have 3 hours a day, the rest of the time, family time. That works. But then when you're out for 8 hours at work, and then you come home, and then you go, I need 3 hours. So the options are, I either wake up earlier and do stuff before they wake up, which in my head is, that's the guilt-free time, because they're asleep. It doesn't matter what I do while they're asleep. That's the guilt-free time that I have available. or at night when they go to bed. So I would say it's better in the morning. So now what I'm thinking is get up at 5, be in the studio by 1:15, and then I've got 2 hours where I can do podcast, editing. I mean, I could even do a full stream at 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't know what the audience will be like on that one, but it's not out of the realms of possibilities. And depending on what the work situation turns into, that has potential to be a consistency. Interesting. But yeah, so 5, well, the equivalent of 5:30 till 7:30. Yeah, that 2-hour time slot, 5:30 till 7:30. But there's no exercise, so that also needs potentially looking at. Okay. Anyway, right. I think that this podcast has been a bit random. It's pretty much just been me having a very random chat to myself. So I'm going to end it there. We'll crack on tomorrow, and we'll try and make things a bit more positive. I've obviously clearly had a couple of off days that have affected it all, but we'll get back on track. All right. See you guys tomorrow.